Oh, good morning. It's good to catch up with you again after a nice stroll along the beach yesterday. A very pleasant cappuccino at one of the resorts that line the beaches in San Juan, and the start being, or the end of, Insat area, Instat. But on my way from the Gillian to San Fernando, something that I often see, but it happened again yesterday, and that was two completely separate individuals. I'm not sure whether they knew each other or whatever, but they had a common thread connecting them regardless. One lady that either was born disabled, because looking at her fingers, they were sort of half the length of a normal functioning hand, and she had no eye. Whether it was from an accident, I don't know. I would think it was by birth. It looked like a disfigurement by birth. And the other girl was, to look at, she was just a normal, maybe 18 to 20-year-old student, maybe, and in perfect proportion. But I noticed immediately they started signing between each other. And it's often jokingly said that when a foreigner starts talking to a Filipino, you're giving them a nosebleed, you know. And the joke is, when you finish talking, you always say, "Well, I'm sorry, I didn't bring the tissues for your nosebleed." Shrieks of laughter. They get the joke. And so often, like, you could be hanging out, maybe waiting for a tricycle to take you home, or waiting for a particular tricycle driver to um, to deal with, and you get chatting to the guys. And there's a difference between talking to women and talking to guys, because on a level, to get through to guys, it's quite often gutter talk. I'd say gutter talk. It's all about photos and okies, and those would know what I mean. It's it's man talk. It's what we will. I think your former president, or the soon-to-be president in America, talked about locker room talk. Very manly, macho kind of thing. And of course, somebody will say it's terrible, but nevertheless, we all do it. All men do it. I suppose, in a sense, we get down to the raw facts. And when talking to a woman, you have to be a bit more genteel about how you say things to her, so that she doesn't misinterpret things. You often say at the end of a statement, maybe charot, meaning joking. Oh, then they understand, and then they're surprised that you know the word. But it's all down to communication. It's not just the words, it's not just the sentences. 9 times out of 10, it's being observant to the body language, the reaction visually, to the facial expression. And like I said in the other video on the other channel, the idea that somehow Filipinos all speak fluent or understand fluent English is far from the truth. It's very basic. It's like an English or a Frenchman coming to England. Frenchman thinks he can speak English. He might have learnt English at college or at school, and vice versa. In England, we often are taught French and German as two of the languages. Some even more recently are into Mandarin or Cantonese. So the world is definitely changing in that sense. But Spanish is also one of the bigger languages that is spoken. And of course, if you had that background and you fully understand those languages, you can put your sentences together in a way that aren't offensive, aren't confusing. But as those that come here thinking that the Philippines is just so great that they all speak English and they understand what you're saying, I think you've got to step back for a moment and realize that what you say could be misconstrued and maybe even seen as a bit rude or offensive. So be always very careful that when you're trying to get your point over, even in a joke, that you maybe even try and explain why it's supposed to be funny to us. Then maybe they'll understand it. Because once they understand it, you'll find that most Filipinos, once you realize that they've clicked onto what you're saying, they do have a good sense of humor. And it travels from ours to theirs. But don't assume that you can be brash and arrogant and still be funny, because it doesn't work here, because that is it's on the border of saving face. They'll be polite and smile politely to you, but they'll probably give you a wide shift next time round when you see them. They won't be so eager to have a conversation with you because they've misinterpreted what you've said and they've found it maybe rude. So just a lesson in a little bit of etiquette, I suppose. And don't take it the wrong way. I'm not the guru, but I'm just saying, after being here 10 years, you start to realize that sometimes people get the wrong impression. So if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumb up. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Come on, you can subscribe. And you have a lovely day. And we're fast approaching the bewitching hour of midnight, New Year's Eve. And I wish you all a great new year. And thank you very much for subscribing and watching my new channel here on Grumpy Brit in the Philippines. Bye now.